what is George Guti? George Guti is an illiterate guy, but he's an extraordinary genius or extraordinary man. He's a fighter. He started as an orphan. He's an orphan, but he came to this level. So when this problem occurred in his life, he fought back with whatever information, whatever knowledge he has.
This is the moment where we realize that Drishyam is truly a masterpiece. But arriving at this plot point has been quite a thrilling ride, orchestrated by a storyteller who loves to follow the rules of the genre and even mend them in order to craft compelling narratives. It won't be wrong to say that Jeethu Joseph has created a film series that can be regarded as a landmark cinematic achievement for Indian cinema. The Drishyam saga did not just enter the hearts of the audiences, but it also became a memorable pop culture phenomenon. I mean, everyone knows what happened on 2nd October, right? The film has crossed language barriers with creative reproductions. I don't think we get to see this often in Indian cinema, that one film is remade in 4 different languages, which themselves individually became commercially and critically successful. The narrative milieu was different for each of them, but the seed of the idea remained the same. So it would only be wise to begin this discussion by acknowledging the visionary who nurtured the first seed before honoring the fruit of the franchise. As a fan, Jeethu Joseph is someone who has invested a major part of his life in discovering and devouring the mystery thriller genre.
Yeah, but how do you think
I have no connection.
How does this?
I don't know, sir. Maybe I used to read a lot of Agatha Christie novels, James Hadley Chase books, Sherlock Holmes. So even from my childhood, my passion towards these kind of mystery movies, crime movies was there. Maybe that's a reason. I don't know.
His filmography as a director echoes his affiliation with the genre and testifies to his strong hold on the same. But more importantly, we need to understand Jeethu Joseph as a writer, because before you bring it on screen, you have to bring it on paper, and Jeethu Joseph does this really well. Now, whenever we talk about the mystery thriller genre, or any genre for that matter, the most important aspect that drives the plot ahead, introduces characters, empathizes with the main character, and provides a compelling, satisfying setup and payoff is exposition. Exposition forms the foundation of your story. It is nothing but information about the setting, biography, and characterization that the audiences need to know and follow to comprehend the events of the story. This interplay and placement of information will decide how appealing and engaging your story is for the audience, and it will also decide how boring your story is for the audience. And Jeethu Joseph, in my opinion, is a meticulous storyteller who knows how to reveal and manage exposition. Sure, he will begin by dumping a lot of details that will make you feel overburdened and bored, but he trusts his audience and never wastes their time. In fact, he understands script economy and will hardly repeat the same exposition. There are exceptions to revealing the same exposition, yes, there are, but it is done to reinforce more than reveal piece of knowledge. For example, in this scene from part 1, we notice how George Guti gives an example of a female actor to tell her wife about how to be a good woman and lady of the house. This is the first glimpse of how George is so connected with cinema. Next, in this moment, he once again quotes a film, Evidam Swargamano. This reinforces his attachment with cinema and how films control his learning of the real world. Then again in part 2, we are informed that George Guti has sold a piece of land to finance his movie theatre business. Soon we also see him visiting a film producer to fulfill his dream of making cinema. Same information, same details about the character, revealing once and reinforcing multiple times with logical progressions of the plot. This detail-oriented approach of Jeethu is reflected in the entirety of the Drishyam films franchise, because he knows his audience and respects his intelligence.
After finishing the script, I took it to forensic doctor and I asked him, see, this is my idea. So if you're watching this film, do you think this is stupid? This is impossible? He helped me in making some corrections and said, it can happen.
The good thing about Jeethu's writing is that he believes in giving the audience's intellect a space in the story. He accommodates the audience's logic and the story's logic by incorporating characters who personify the audience. Now, this also reveals something about him which has been true about the nature of the medium of cinema itself. And Jeethu tries to balance it with realism as much as possible. Cinema is a medium of storytelling that relies heavily on suspension of disbelief. You set aside your logic and fully commit to the story being told by believing in the characters and the situations that they are going through. Jeethu truly commits to this idea, but he also balances his commitment with the fact that stories are an amalgamation of our real lives. The characters, places, events, names remain fictional when projected either on a 70 screen or a 7-inch display, but they always bear resemblance to the living and dead. We see this balanced approach being employed at two places in Drishyam Part 2. There is the younger daughter and her friend who is making a film inspired by the events of Part 1. And then there is the story told by the film producer in Part 2. We will talk about this in more detail, this particular section of the film, because that is the most interesting one. So keep watching. Before that, we need to understand how Jeethu Joseph actually likes to deliver exposition throughout the narrative and then play with the minds of the audience to achieve what his daughter likes to call.
So, Daddy, this is a good cinema.
In any film that you watch, there are three techniques to deliver exposition. There is direct attack, which means revealing information by straight up dialogue. You make the characters speak out the information with the help of dialogue. Then there is show don't tell, which, as the name suggests, showing visual instead of dialogue to convey information or revelation with the help of visuals. Now, the third one is an extension of the previous two, which is right exposition at the right time. This means that you save the most important piece of information for the audience only to be spoken out or shown at the right time in your film. Only when the time is right. You don't just bring it up anywhere at any point in the film. You save it for the best moment. But to make these techniques work for your audience and for your film, you need a blueprint, a structure to organize which character knows what and when and how much. Jeethu Joseph loves to use dramatic irony as his structure of choice to organize information. Dramatic irony, in simplest terms, is when the audience knows something which the characters don't, or one character or more characters along with the audience know something which other characters in the story don't. Now, when you apply this structure of revealing information, it results in two prominent emotional outcomes. There is dramatic tension and narrative tension. Dramatic tension is the anticipation of whether something will happen in a particular scene, in a particular moment. Narrative tension is the anticipation running throughout the narrative regarding a major reveal on which the entire story hangs. Let us understand all of this with an example. At the midpoint in part 2, we are revealed using show don't tell that Sarita and Sabu are shadow police deployed for the last 2 years by IG Thomas Bastion to spy on George Kuti and his family. The same is explained to CI Philip Matthew by Thomas using direct attack with exposition. That is, dialogue, which continue for the audience to know how George Kuti's house has been bugged for the last 2 years. Philip recontextualizes the entire story so far. And the moment he reveals how Sarita knows about Anju killing Varun, and how she also got to know from Rani about Varun's body being shifted by George, what we experience is dramatic tension. There is an immediate suspense in these micro moments where we fear what will happen next. But looking at the macro level, we are also scared of a stronger possibility of George Kuti's biggest secret being revealed now, which is the exact location of Varun's body being buried. That is narrative tension. Since the audience is experiencing both narrative and dramatic tension, this entire conversation becomes an intriguing mix of show don't tell and direct attack with exposition. Another great example of the same is where Rani is made to feel scared of the police near the church. Yes, it is dramatic tension, but it is also dramatic irony because now, in this moment, we know as an audience about Sarita, but Rani doesn't know the truth. Once again, when Sarita tries to instill fear in the mind of Rani with a false alarm, in this moment, there is dramatic tension. But in this moment, we actually notice dramatic tension coupled with narrative tension and dramatic irony all at the same time.
Rani, അതുകൊണ്ട് ഇത് ഞാൻ പറയില്ല.
Now, so far, we have learned about Jeethu Joseph's ability to control the entire attention of the audience. He trusts them completely to follow along the journey and also never waste their time. Most importantly, he realizes as a storyteller that it would only be unfair to bring the audiences down from the peak of narrative and dramatic tension. He used the first half to set up every bit of exposition and started paying off the audience's expectation in the second half. We are talking about part 2. So far, we have seen how George Kuti has successfully managed to evade the police and protect his family. This has been happening since part 1. He has done everything possible to ensure the safety of his family members. But at the same time, he has also been facing this internal conflict for the last 6 years. He first did something to save his family, but then he had to continue hiding it for the rest of his life. And his biggest fear is the safety of his family. And now that the confrontation with this fear has become more frequent and dangerous, Jeethu Joseph employs a screenwriting technique that further elevates the dramatic tension. Before we arrive at this point of total control and confidence, we first need to completely believe that George Kuti has lost. This is the moment where Jeethu Joseph executes a classic screenwriting technique, the defeat of the protagonist, where all hope seems to be lost. By directly attacking our protagonist's biggest fear and unearthing the body from the police station, Jeethu Joseph forces George Kuti into a state of total, absolute failure. Also, he keeps supplying the police procedures with forensic knowledge to add credibility for the viewers. He brings the protagonist to this point. This is the first time George Kuti is truly, genuinely scared. The way the camera portrays Rani approaching George signifies how he has been hiding the secret from his wife and kids. His biggest fear has now been activated. His biggest secret is out now, and the police will come straight for him and his family. And now narrative tension takes over dramatic tension because the police have finally learned about Varun's body being buried under the police station. So the biggest fear, the biggest secret of George Kuti, of this entire film, is out now. But just like the previous film, which is part 1, Jeethu Joseph has a power move up his sleeve. And Drishyam, the film, the Drishyam films, always brings the ultimate setup, camouflaged as absolute defeat. So let's see what happens in the final act, which starts at 2 hours, 6 minutes, 33 seconds. Yes, it is a lot of time, but in Jeethu Joseph, we trust. With the help of crosscuts, we notice George being taken to the court and the film producer who knows George Kuti meeting Thomas, Geeta, and her husband. Okay, pause. Precisely after this moment, we will notice how Jeethu Joseph has divided the ultimate redemption of our protagonist into different stages. So far, the structure to deliver information so far has been dramatic irony. But now we will notice a major narrative shift with the introduction of two new structures of revealing information. When George Kuti's lawyer reveals that the police investigation perfectly mirrors the plot of a published novel titled Drishyam, Jeethu Joseph momentarily shifts the film into the shared structure. That is when the audience and the characters possess the same information. Suddenly, the audience, the judge, the frantic police are all forced onto the same page that the police has done all of this and has planned everything based on a novel which is titled Drishyam, And all of us are processing the idea that the family has been framed by the police. But this shared clarity is actually a brilliant trap by Jeethu Joseph. He uses this communal distraction to camouflage the real truth, the real climax.
What was that damn climax?
While George's lawyer is trying to frame another possible reason, we notice a man entering the court, a messenger who brings the most shocking news to everyone. Jeethu Joseph deploys the information which will literally ignite a completely new structure of revealing exposition for every character and the audience.
As per DNA report, ഈ skeleton വരേണ്ടതല്ല.
This is the biggest twist of the story, which is revealed in the best possible manner, breaking the fourth wall.
What is George Kuti? George Kuti is an illiterate guy, but he's an extraordinary genius or extraordinary man. He's a fighter. He started as an orphan. He's an orphan, but he came to this level. So when this problem occurred in his life, he fought back with whatever information, whatever knowledge he has.
This moment of breaking the fourth wall has varied significance. Firstly, it creates dramatic irony because now he tells the audience something that none of the characters know. Even his family doesn't know of this. Secondly, it proves that we have been watching everything from his point of view so far. It is his story being told in his way by none other than the police. George has prepared himself for every possible scenario that can happen in the future, a glimpse of which we see with the help of flashback and the voiceover of the producer. And third, the act of closing and opening his eyes becomes a match cut to create a narrative bridge for revealing exposition using show don't tell. The audience is completely taken aback, and so are the characters. Right from the beginning, we are watching this film through George Kuti's eyes. Every dialogue proves to be a recital, a script reading session, and a visual presentation of George Kuti's plan. This is what makes George Kuti an extraordinary genius, helmed by the extraordinary genius of Jeethu Joseph's writing that alternates between structures of dramatic irony and the privileged character structure, which is also referred to as a narrative blind spot structure. This methodology of revealing exposition, which is the privileged character structure, works like a setup where the characters know a vital truth, but the writer intentionally hides it from the audience, which is right exposition at the right time. The privileged character executes a plan, makes a deal, and discovers a fact off screen in plain sight without explaining it. The writer uses distractions like high stakes drama, chaotic police investigations or interrogations, or emotional breakdowns to prevent the audience from asking, wait, what is exactly happening? What is our protagonist actually doing? The character's hidden knowledge is suddenly exposed, retroactively changing the meaning of the entire story. Like I said, right exposition at the right time. For 80% of the film, the audience feels smart. You know George Kuti hid the body, you know the alibi is fabricated, you watch the police struggle while you sit in a position of privileged knowledge. Ultimately, the genius of Jeethu Joseph's writing is not just that he can construct a flawless puzzle, but it is that he knows exactly how to manipulate our psychological blind spots by forcing us through an agonizing defeat setup, trapping us inside a false shared structure, and withholding information until it is absolutely required, like until the absolute last second. He proves that Drishyam is not just a movie about a man protecting his family. It is a masterclass in narrative architecture, and Jeethu Joseph leaves us completely in awe of George Kuti, not because we have watched him win in the end, but because the script successfully tricked us into believing that he had lost. And if you truly want to understand how Jeethu Joseph was able to do all of this, Just look at the complete titles of the Drishyam films so far. You will get a clue.